Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fight Chat Friday from TKD Coach Academy. This week we are looking ahead to the ITF World Cup in Koper, Slovenia, and we are going to give you our predictions, our hot takes on the likely contenders in each of the divisions, male and female senior, and also in the team sparring. So stay with us, have a little fun with this one.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fight Chat Friday. So we're going to be getting stuck into the divisions of mostly the sparring for this episode, at least for the World Cup. So there is a lot of different people involved this time. There's a couple of countries as well that are usually very prominent in the World Cup, the likes of the New Zealand's. Obviously Russia are not competing at this one, so some big teams there that aren't at this particular championships. So yeah, it is a bit different. I think we were saying before we came on and recorded that the kind of gap there between COVID and then coming back into it has brought a completely new generation of people. We see some stalwarts in there again that we see time and time again, but I think overall there's a big shake up in terms of the personnel.
Yeah, there's some very interesting things, and we'll see it as well as we look through to some of the veteran divisions where there are some very familiar names and faces turning up there who would have been previously, contenders in the 1835 division. And I think a caveat as we go into this as well, because there's such a shake-up in the names in terms of top competitors, even since the World Championships in Germany in 2019, a lot of the new talent coming out of South America, North America in particular, we're not going to be as familiar with. So we'll probably underrate a few people on that side of things. And then, of course, we have at least had a couple of European championships since COVID to kind of get used to. We've had Spain, we've had Porridge and Croatia to kind of get used to who some of the newer faces are. So we're starting to develop an understanding of who some of the stronger competitors coming through from Europe are. But even at that, we have a huge Ukrainian team in here, and we're not used to seeing this. We haven't seen all of these competitors before, so I'd be well prepared for a couple of upsets on that front as well.
Yeah, so let's get stuck into it. We're going to start with the male side, I think, in the minus 57 category. So just looking straight off the bat, we can see a few familiar names. We've got Axel Vargas, who obviously is defending champion. We have got Yazin from Spain, who's done pretty well this year in the Euros. And, of course, we have Christian Papa from Romania. So the three of those names at the top of the division seem to be people that are thereabouts all the time. And then on the bottom side, Adrian?
Yeah, we have Doyle from originally Argentina, now Spain, who's been a consistent contender and opponent for Yasin in Spain. And, those guys have done, superbly well, I think. Honestly, as I'm looking through the bottom end of that draw, I don't really see past Yasin, and that's probably doing someone a disservice. But I do think there's some very interesting ones in that top half where, Axel is a very seasoned competitor, a lot of experience, tends to be quite explosive, tends to be very unpredictable, doesn't always at World Championship level, etc., end up being the one who goes the whole way. But I think we'll have some exceptional matches in the semi-final at the top end, and I think it's going to be a really good and very exciting division.
Yeah, I do notice as well that Vitaly Solove seems to be in team sparring, but not in the individual event.
Sure.
So it gives somebody an opportunity there to step up and stake their claim and make a bit of a name for themselves coming into the next World Championships as well. But yeah, for me, I think Yazin is the guy there who's doing really, really well lately, and I think that for me, he's going to push through.
Yeah. So we move up a weight class, and there's two pools in this one, so we will go through both pools. And this one really is a little bit of a story about the quarters. And for me, as I'm looking at the first quarter there, we have Anis Trikwi there at the very, very top, and after a very, very good European Championships. He's coming out of Grandmaster Trikwi's team and, looking really, really solid there. And you end up with, as you go into that first half, Mateus Bustamante from Argentina, always a contender, very, very strong. And my own student, Jamie Williams, who again got a very, very narrow win against Anis in the European Championships, carrying him through to the final. I think there's going to be some very, very nice matches along the way in the top half.
Yeah, that's a very tasty side of the division. I think the three of those guys you mentioned for me are the people that are going to be looking to make a claim in that side of the division. Absolutely. And you have to say as well, there's a lot of people there with like the three of those in particular have a lot of experience. But then when we look at the bottom side of the draw, we've got Julio Carlos. Obviously, he's been around for a long, long time now.
Yeah.
You know, many world titles. He's won the World Cup many times as well. So you have to favour him on the top side of that draw. And then on the bottom side, you have the defending European champion Inziga from Slovenia. So I think for me, the two of those are the likely people to come through there on that side to make it into the semi on that front.
Yeah, very, very explosive fighters, very capable of putting up big wins, and
Very, very interested in that match. I think that'll be an absolute cracker, to be honest.
yeah, if we get to that one, it's definitely one we're going to be coming back to have a look at, in a future Fight Chat Friday, I would say. So, jumping up then to our 69 kilo division, and we have to get this into our heads as well. It's a little bit of a change. It's not a 70 kilo division anymore. So, yeah, 69s. Don't think that changes up the people in the division overly much. But, this one has, for me, a juicy first rounder there with Martin Gadea and Thomas Fogarty. So Thomas kind of moving up the weight divisions a little bit from Ireland, and Martin haven't seen in a little while, probably since Germany. So for me, two very skillful fighters. Martin very strategic. Thomas, tends to be a very almost reactive fighter sometimes. But I think that would be a great opening match.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important one, and I think whoever gets the upper hand there is going to have a good say in that division. But you also have Sven on that side from Slovenia as well, so you can't write Sven off. So I think that quarter in particular is a very tasty one. So I'm interested to see that. And then you also have Theo from Norway, who's a former European champion in that side as well. So that really is a nice side of the 69 division.
Yeah, for sure. As you flip over, I mean, James, we would say James was very unlucky in the last Euros. Yeah, he looks set to explode. He
needs one. It's coming, definitely, isn't it?
I have that feeling that there's definitely a big tournament win coming for him, and this. I would say hopefully the rest of the world can say something else, but I would really hope to see him come through that quarter at least.
Yeah, I think so. But there's two Argentinians in this side as well, so we don't know too much about because we haven't seen, as you said.
Yeah,
exactly. We haven't seen that side of the world from our perspective in a long time, so we don't really know what to expect from some of the Argentinians who we don't know from prior to 2019, let's say. So yeah, maybe some of those people can step in there and make an upset as well. There's some Ukrainians in there who generally they tend to be pretty decent at the 69 division, but for me, I think we have Shane and James there. Obviously, a little bit of bias from our side because we know them quite well and we know what they're like. So, but for me, I think the two of those guys will come through.
Yeah, my memory, if memory serves, Obukovsky from Ukraine would have fought at 63 in the last Euros.
Tall,
yeah, the very tall lad. He was. I remember seeing his fight. If it's the same guy against Will Dewey, and again, seemed very, very capable. And I don't think if it's him that the stepping up 69 will make any difference to him. So I think it could be an interesting one to watch as well. Yeah, again, quality competitor, has done very well over many years as well. So yeah, I would. I think there's some tasty matches coming through in this division, and always that middleweight division does tend to throw up some great matches.
Yeah.
Okay, so going up to 75, and we can definitely see a few former 70 kilo fighters maybe moved up to this one. But what do you think are the standouts here?
Yeah, so straight off the bat, I can see Maciek Zuk there jumping up. We can see Nicolas Duchard jumping up, and we also have Martin Segura from Spain. So I think the three of those people are the people there with the experience and the people that we know of. Obviously, there's a lot of new guys in there as well, but there's Alejo from
Vetrano,
there. He's thereabouts, and for me, he's another guy who's due a big win. Let's say, he's always there on the fringes, maybe into the semi-finals or whatever. But I think that this might be one for him to kind of push through.
Yeah, it's always excellent to see who does push through at the World Cup level, because it does allow. I think the thing we haven't talked about too much is that 3-minute round format really does throw up a few things, because momentum matters more. You can't stop in the middle, reassess and come back with a new game plan. as easily. You don't get the break to come back and do that. So you have to adjust more on the fly. That in itself is a bit more challenging. So I think it allows it, sometimes different fighters or, someone who manages to get momentum early in the round to carry that through sometimes, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, do we have the 2-2s then coming into the semi-final?
Only in the final, I think.
Only the final, okay.
Yeah,
because that was the way before. It used to be semi and final, then it was just final. So yeah, you got to change it up then as well and kind of adapt your strategy depending. So, but yeah, as we look at the 75 division here, of course we have Marcin from Poland who won this competition previously. We have Yuka who actually did pretty well in the Euros from Finland.
Absolutely.
In the last campaign.
Yeah.
Ahmed, who's the brother of Alamin, very good competitor as well. And then if you look at the bottom side of that, we've got Marko Bojchuk, who's quite solid. I think he's one of the junior Europeans. Yes. And then, of course, we have Magomed, who is
former world champion
and European champion former. Yeah. So there's a lot of good guys in that division. So I'm really interested in this particular side of the 75s.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think you might put a little cheeky bet on who'd come through the quarters, but who's going to shake up and get all the way to the final. Some of the guys that are involved in here, I think this is actually going to come down to things like the fouls and the potential for a DQ in there as well. So hopefully that's not the case, but it has been the case with this division a little bit in the past. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, like some of these guys here will have to go through potentially onto like 6 matches for Magomed in particular, to get through that side of the division. So it's about kind of that mental capacity as well and that mental fitness to make the correct decisions over those 3 minutes, because it's not like, although people have competed in World Cups before, it is a little bit different to the what we expect from ITF fighters. So it's just a different mentality and a different kind of concentration level needed as well to make good decisions.
That's it. We just don't train for that all the time. This is something that, and for many of us, who didn't do Australia, the last World Cup was in 2016. 2016. So, it's quite a while, because obviously 2018 was Australia, 2020 didn't happen, and this is the 2020 World Cup, effectively shifted 2 years. So, particularly for a lot of the newer people, it's a lot of the Europeans, even if you did do a World Cup, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So that moves us into the 81s. So that kind of division there is a little bit in between, let's say, because some people are coming down from the 85, some people are kind of moving up from the 78, but most of the people tend to be going down from what I can see. Some people that do jump out are Sean O'Neill from Canada, of course, who is quite solid. And then, of course, you have Alamin down the bottom from
the very
Germany.
Bottom,
who's going to be facing Samuli Rossi, who we haven't seen in a long time. So he's back on the scene, and I'm sure he's excited to give Alamin a good run. He's somebody who's always a solid competitor.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a few people as well. So I'm thinking it was Luca Pecchia from Italy as well. This division, it wouldn't have been this exact weight class, but I think it was in the 85s. Some very, very solid Italians up that weight division at the Euro, so we'll have to see what they have to offer there as we look through it. Sean Neary, obviously better known for his special technique, but he'll be interesting to see as well. And he's like last time we saw him do particularly well, I suppose, would have been in Australia again, same kind of World Cup situation. So yeah, there's certainly people to look at who might shake up the expectation, but I suppose coming from what we've seen, Alamin would definitely be one of the favourites there.
Yeah, I think so too. And then moves into the 87s. I think that these two divisions are a little bit lighter. We always did see the plus 85s a little bit, let's say, not as broad in terms of numbers, but here we see the minus and the plus divisions are a little bit lighter in terms of overall numbers, which means... Yeah, we've got some people there who are jumping out straight away. We've got Silvio from
for sure.
Argentina. I think he's very, very solid. So I think he's nice and strong for that weight division as well. And then on the flip side, we've got Niels Wahlberg from Argentina, who's also a solid competitor. And other than that, I'm not too familiar with too many. So I'd be favouring the two of those guys to push through, to be honest.
Yeah, and I have to go with you on that one. And, even for myself, especially with the fighters that I tend to work with, I'm not as familiar with the heavier weight divisions. I leave that to your area of expertise. But, it's definitely new names for me. as we look through it.
A lot of the guys that were in around those divisions seem to be coming through into the veterans now. So, I think that the heavier weights tend to be the older guys generally. So, we can see a few of those later on in the veterans.
Yeah, and as we go over to the over 87s, we've got a few people who would be well known to us. So Maciej Blekarski and Danilo Demishin as well. And it's interesting they're both in the same half. Yeah, I think we haven't seen Danilo for a while. He was very, very sharp there coming up 2019 kind of time. Yes.
And now he's back on the scene again, so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of nick he's in and if he's good to go. So, but this division has got a real shake-up in the last maybe 2 or 3 years. There's a lot of guys who are really, really solid in the plus division who tend to have moved on to other things. So I think it's time now for somebody else to make a claim on this division and maybe put their foot down for the next while. Interesting, we don't see Seba in there from Argentina.
That's right, Seba Larashi, and obviously Bartosz from Poland isn't there either. So
so we I think this one will be a nice division. Hopefully, once it gets going and we can develop into some new people that we haven't seen before. I'm sure some people there will make a claim and we'll be saying at the end of it, okay, these are some good guys in there in the plus division. But for me right now, it's probably going to be Danilo's to lose.
Excellent. And it's a big learning journey for us as well ahead of the potentially the World Championships next year. So it gives us an opportunity to have a look at some people that we won't have seen before ahead of Finland next year.
Yeah.
So as we move through on this one, we have I actually can't even see which one I've got there.
We have the 63 veterans.
Yes. That makes sense. So we've pulled in some of the veterans because, for us, there's an awful lot of names. There's people here that we'd have known for many, many years, and I think it makes the veterans that much more interesting when the number of people in it is getting a little bit it's getting a little bit bigger. The divisions are getting a little bit bigger, and it's getting quite interesting. But as we're looking through this one, this would be one of the ones that I think is wide open. I
wouldn't be too familiar with any of these people. I know Gustavo worked with him before when we did a bit of work there with people in South America for a seminar during Zoom times. But other than that, I'm not too familiar with these guys, to be honest.
Yeah, so as we go through it, this one gets particularly interesting for me because Patrick Karlstrom is a good friend of mine for many years, sitting at the bottom of that, and it's really good to see him continue competing, and I would absolutely fancy him as a contender for this one the whole way through.
We've got Sheba in there as well from Hungary. We know of him, but I think that this is Patrick's one to lose. He could still hang in there, I think, with the adult division, let's say. So I think that pushing through into the veterans should be an okay one for him.
Yeah, again, this one's interesting as we kind of move up there. We start to find a few familiar names, but Piotr Wasilewski from Poland. He's been a big hitter for many years at the he hasn't really had what you'd usually see with the guys going into the veterans division, and I think that's the same with Patrick. There's no years off in between and then people deciding, look, I'll pick up the gloves again and give it a go. This is a guy who's had the gloves on all the way through.
Pedigree.
Yeah, and I think I'd expect him to continue it through into this division as well. So yeah, one to watch maybe there. Marcin Glos as well. We'd seen maybe not so much at the Polish national team, but at some of these the international opens, we've seen him quite a bit. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what he's got to add. I have to give a shout out to my man at the top there, Luciano Iriarte from Argentina. So a member of the coaches committee with me. So I have to give him the nod in this one. But does anyone else jump out at you there?
Yeah, we've got Luke Thompson, who's competed a long time as well in the maybe 85s for a while. So Luke's in there. We've got Brendan as well from Ireland, who's a big man. So he's in there at the minus 84s. He's a problem for a lot of people with his size and his reach. So yeah, he'd be another one to watch.
Nicholas Taylor has competed at Euros for Belgium as well recently. So that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, I'm still going to hang my hat with Luciano, and hopefully he'll do us proud there. This one is this was our pick. This is the big pick, I think, for the thing. I think we're going to have a great match in round one there with two old contenders, Ross Smith and actually I shouldn't insult them like that. They're younger than me, but two regular contenders in terms of Ross and Alice. Those guys have fought before.
They know each other. They know each other well.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long leg battle for Alice, and then it's going to be about Ross trying to get on the inside, mix it up with the hands, and get to the finish with the legs after. But we've got Fernando Rua in there as well, who's been thereabouts in the plus division in the adult side for a long time. And you have the French competitor there as well, who's been in the 85s for a little while in the adults division. So This one is a lot of people who are kind of coming through, let's say. And of course, we have some Argentinians in there as well that we're not too familiar with. It's kind of interesting as well that there's two Argentinians against each other potentially in their first match. Well, one
just with the way the clubs were registered, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
it's also the fact that there is Argentinians, right the way through the division. So there's 3, 4, 5, 5 in the division. So
true,
yeah, nothing to be done there, unfortunately. Moving up here into the female up to 50 kilos. So we're changing over. We're onto the female side of it. And I think this is an absolute belter of a division, actually.
Yeah. I think even that first match there on the bottom.
Yes.
Got Isabella and Evelyn Perez. That's going to be a good match. Now, Isabella has a little bit of reach over Evelyn.
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
But
Evelyn is a tiny little lady.
I think whoever can come through there has a good chance of pushing through on that side. Now, you do have Leslie there at the top of that side of the division as well. But then on the top, we have a couple of names we're familiar with again, Adrian.
Yeah, Izzy Brider, of course, Nicolette Becci from Hungary, and again, even Naomi from Paraguay. I think we've seen a little bit before. Yeah. So, I think on the back of experience, European wins, the last World Cup, and so on, I'd be favouring Izzy to come through on that side. But it's it's going to be I think a really interesting division, and exciting that there's a few people that we don't know at all. So for me, particularly the Ukrainian, I don't know at all there. Veronica Placido from Italy, I haven't really seen. And of course the American there as well, I haven't seen too much. Olivia Pritchella, I'm not so sure that I've seen either in terms of this division. So it's a little bit new for me.
In that 50s for the Euros, I think. So I think that this one could be an all Isabel final for me.
Oh, there's a call. So moving up and again getting used to these new divisions, we've got the 55 kilo division, and
this is a good one, I think. Yeah, we've got there you go. We got Fer Sanchez in there at the top of that. She's the previous world champion, World Cup champion in this division.
Yeah.
So she's quite solid. It's always in there. You've some other names we're familiar with as well. Ariana Pop is around a long time. Eleonora, who got to the final of the -50s, I think, or -56 in a recent Europeans.
Yeah.
Then you have Sofia Gide, who's been around a long time, and you've then Jess, who's of course your student, and Milagros Acosta, who's been around for a long time as well.
That's right, and even Lisanne Behonik from the Netherlands, quite a good career at junior, and has moved up to, so a lot of new people here, and Tina Belvanis, who moved from Australia to Germany and is training out of a Trickery team as well. Again, haven't seen as much from her in terms of her ITF competition yet, because she's recently moved up there, but has been doing very well in WACO. So, I think there's
stable to be in anyway.
Yeah, I think there's some good offerings in here. In terms of who we think will take it the whole way to the end. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I do think this is going to be a nice balanced division with a lot of talent in each of the quarters.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one as well for the Worlds, from an Argentinian's perspective, who they're going to select. So I think this will be a big claim on that. If any of the Argentinians can push through and take a claim on this division, it might set them up for selection for the World Championships.
Yeah, very true. Moving up to the 60 kilo division, this one again, there's a few very familiar faces, and the absolute, for me, the jump out part of it is that third quarter is, from a European perspective, stacked with the ones that we might expect to be doing well. So in terms of, Sam Del Rocca's current European champion, Urska has been
around a long time.
and in the medals repeatedly. Marta Misior from Poland as well. Okay, maybe a little bit more known on the pattern side of things, but a very solid competitor too. So for me, that's a very interesting kind of middle portion, and I think potentially the winner will be coming out of that.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, I think between Sam Del Rock there and Erska, I think whoever gets the upper hand on that one will go on to take the division.
Yeah, yeah. Again, let's see. So we move up again, and we're up to the 65s. And right at the very, very top, Camilla Canut, who has experience on experience, who's been, Argentinian national team and at the top level for, certainly 2010 onwards, I think, that kind of time. So a lot of experience there, and would be definitely one of my favourites to carry this one home.
Yeah, it seems a lot of the girls that were in 62s are kind of favouring this particular division now, the 65s.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one. We've got Anna Lena as well, who's from Norway, who has won the Euros, isn't it?
Euros back in Spain, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Big front
one
leg.
of the twins there from Slovenia as well, Larissa. The two twins there, they're very solid. I'm not sure which one that is, but I know both of these girls because some of my students were against these girls in junior level, and they were both solid. Then you have Courtney Smith, who's back involved again. But then on the other side of the division, we have Adelina, who has been there and won it many times. We've got Mira, who is really on fire lately. So
did very well.
Mira is going to do really, really well here as well and push through because she's been competing a lot, both in WACO and ITF. So I think that that experience and that competitive streak, let's say, that she has going at the minute is going to be really big for her. So I think
and it's quite interesting because she actually won at 68 at the Euros, and so she went up a division to try that. So this kind of sits happily in the middle between the two divisions that she's been competitive in. So that might just suit very well. And of course,
and I think this is more competitive though, isn't it? This side.
Yes, yeah. I think
especially the World Cup, you want to get in there maybe and get some good matches to set you up if your sights are on that world title.
Yeah. Obviously, we've Alice from Quinn in there as well, which is, who we're very familiar with, and she's very capable. So, I think this one, you might have one match that is nice for you, and then after that, you're going to be battling the whole way to the end. So, I mean, I think you tend to go with experience and current form, and for me, like, potentially that's Camilla coming through at the top, with the experience, perhaps. And in terms of form, is it Mira? Is it Adelina on the bottom half? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see Camilla and Mira if they get together. I think that would be a cracker.
Yeah, very, very different styles as well, so that would be something to see.
Mm-hmm. And this one then, there's nobody for me that stands out apart from Ursha. So for me, I think she's going to go all the way there. I don't see any other names that jump out at me that's going to put a big threat against her. Of course, there's a lot of people in there that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody can come in there and make a claim, but this tends to be her division, and she's always thereabouts, finals at least. So I think that she's going to go through there and do really well, especially on her home turf.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. The last two weight divisions for the senior female are very new and very different for me. I mean, I know Jamie Singleton, but not necessarily because she's been super successful. But we'll have to have a look and see what we have there. But I think this is just one that I'm calling open.
Yeah, I have no take on this. I literally have no idea.
Yeah. And then, a similar thing. And even though we're looking at, okay, we have two Irish, so we know both of these girls.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a first time senior really for both of these girls as well. So, again, for me, I'm looking at this and calling this completely open.
Yeah, I'm the same with these two divisions, the two last ones. I don't have any idea, to be honest.
Yeah. Then we're moving into both of the teams. So the male side of things has 4 pools, the female has 2 pools. There are some very interesting opening round matches in these as well as we go through. So I think that Ukraine-Argentina one at the bottom looks spicy.
That's juicy. Yeah, I think whoever can push through there has a great chance. No,
taking the whole thing
Donny
down.
Flask are there at the top as well. They're always solid.
Yes.
But yeah, I think you have to know that there as well. Vitaly's on that Ukrainian team. Not the biggest of guys from what I can see, but there's no doubt in their abilities. All those, many of those guys have actually done really well and taken international titles, whether European or world. So they're a very solid team. And then you have that Argentinian crew there as well with Silvio. You have Axel Vargas, Niels
Yeah,
Wahlberg, and Bustamante. For just those alone, they're a real
they're
standout. So
contenders.
this is a great match. Yeah, I can't wait to see this one.
Excellent. As we go over to the other side this quarter, I mean, obviously we fancy our guys to do quite well.
Yeah.
But
Uzbeks, you don't know what to expect either.
but this is the whole thing is like that. There's it is a very new, very different team and not a big team. So I think it gets quite interesting. But when you look at that Team West Norway against Frölunda, I think that'll be a good battle as well. But there's some good competitors in that Team West, I think.
I think they're a solid crew there, aren't they?
Very much so.
If you look at just the names, some people there with a good bit of experience, and Norway always tend to do well in team, but so do Sweden. I've seen it for years and years and years. They're like, okay, they're good, they're solid. Maybe they're not the best team there, but they always tend to get to like the semis and things like that, the likes of Sweden and Norway. So can't write them off in team.
Excellent. As we move up, we have the home team in terms of Slovenia, but a very different looking team from what we'd have seen before. So I think that would be...
That's Nej.
Yeah.
Nej Gazvoda in there, who's not doing individual, but is jumping into the team.
Yeah.
Other than that, the Argentinian crew, there's no one I recognize there except from
Vetrano.
Vetrano, that's the only one I can see there. And Spain, they have a few names in there, but they tend to be quite a small team.
Yeah.
And then we have the other side of Ukraine as well, which a lot of these guys were not too familiar with, so you never know what they can do. And then we have the second team from ourselves then as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So really not sure what to expect out of that quarter. But then we come into a quarter with some real stonk in it in terms of that German team has some very experienced contenders in there.
Yeah, the three guys at the end there. You've got Alamin Ahmed and Anis. Three of those are really, really solid. And then you've got Tobias Lenz as well. So all of those have been thereabouts competing.
And an interesting little thing that we have in this as well is the fact that if you look at Italy at the bottom, there will be teams that are a little bit under strength that have three or have four. And you're going to lose your 4 or 8 flags as you go into it. So there is a big advantage to having a full team of 5 or 6. So most of the teams that we're looking at are not a national team as we'd expect to see it at the Euros or Worlds, where all 6 are strong competitors. Very often there is the 1 or 2 who are not quite at the level of the rest of the team, and that just serves to make it really interesting, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing about the World Cup, isn't it? It's like you've got a big mix, which is good too, because you got different levels and different looks that you get from different people. So it's not all what you expect. Like all these people that we've mentioned that we know of, like none of them. That's not going to be the case that all of them can win. It's just not going to be a reality. You're going to have some upsets there, definitely.
Yeah. So that just takes us over to the female side of the team sparring, and again, I think very different. An awful lot of people are very, very new to this. But that first match looks quite interesting, I think, in terms of the Germany-Argentina.
Yeah, it's solid crew there. I think Argentina are a little bit stronger from what we can see in the personnel on their team, particularly having somebody like Camilla Canut and Milagros in there. So I think that they will be a little bit stronger.
Excellent. As I'm looking through it, we have a strong Slovenian team again. So. And then the final, the Argentinian team, again, a lot of experience in there and some real strength in it. Not big fighters, but very experienced and quite capable fighters.
A lot of patterns competitors in there, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, they have been around. Like that's the thing, when you're on the scene for such a long time, and you're seen for your patterns. Like obviously, these people are in there a long time and competing and training. So you can't write them off on that front either. But I think that Slovenian team is quite strong and they'll push through.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on that one as well. So the things that I'm looking forward to, I suppose, in seeing over the next while is, who are all of these faces from particularly North and South America that we're not as familiar with? Like, who are contenders? Who are we likely to see at the next World Championships? I think that'll be really interesting to see. And then, of course, where are these big battles that are always going to emerge in the middle of the divisions, even though it's 3-minute rounds rather than the 2-2s. And it'll give us something very, very interesting to have a good look through and dissect in the weeks to come as well. as we look
And
back
of
over
course,
these
some
divisions.
video action for us then, hopefully, as well, that we can dig into on Fight Chat Friday.
Absolutely.
Show you guys what the latest trends are, what's working, what's not, and all of that good stuff. Yeah.
Let's see what we learned from all this.
So if you are going to the World Cup, best of luck, and hopefully you do really well. If there is anything that you want us to cover that you do see over there that stands out at you, let us know. We'll try cover the topic in detail over the next couple of weeks. And until then,
see you Friday.
see you in the next one.